Welcome, everyone, to a special interview edition of the PWTorch Fireside Chat. I'm PWTorch Assistant Editor Zack Heydorn, and I'm thrilled to have here with me today the brand new Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion, Jordynne Grace. Jordynne, thank you so much for joining me. You're busy, coming off a heck of a weekend. Thank you for taking time to chat today. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So, what a weekend. Let's start. Let's start there. How did it feel to win your second Knockouts championship at a really, really big show like Slammiversary was?
Yeah, it felt incredible. There's really no word for it, right? It was euphoric, to be completely honest with you. It didn't really set in that I was actually winning until like I was hanging the belt, because there was so much anxiety going into this match. But yeah, it was truly awesome, and I'm so happy that Impact blessed me with that moment.
That's fantastic. So, did it have any added meaning, like given the kind of the aura of the show being Slammiversary, a major pay-per-view event for Impact, but not only that, like a major 20th anniversary show where there's other things going on, celebrating the company. Like, did it have any added meaning with that going on?
I think you already know the answer to that, but yes, it definitely absolutely did. Not only was it a major pay-per-view, but it was the 20th anniversary show, and also on top of that, it was the first ever Knockouts Queen of the Mountain match. So those three things combined just really put it over the top.
So, when do you find out about like that kind of thing? Like, hey, okay, I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna have this great weekend. Like, is this something that you know weeks in advance, hours in advance? Like,
Oh,
how did that go down?
as a wrestler, whenever I get told something, I just always think, if it's something, especially if it's something good, I always think to myself, well, this could change anytime. Like,
Yeah,
just keep your nose on the straight and narrow, and like just keep acting like you're not winning, because it could be that they change their minds last second. Anything could happen, right? So I was told about the Queen of the Mountain match a few months ago, and then someone had told me, oh, I think you're winning it, and I was just like, there's no way. I feel like I'm always a part of these matches, and I never win. I never get to win them. But regardless, the 6 weeks that we had off from Impact from the last tapings, I have been working like I'm gonna win. Like, I've been studying the matches. I've been working out extremely hard. I actually leaned up a lot for this match. I lost about another 10 pounds,
well,
specifically. I would look good for it. And then I actually found out that I was winning for real when they sent the formats over last week, which was on Wednesday. So that's when they finally like told me for real.
wow, cool. So when you say you were studying, what sort of stuff do you dig into to prepare for a match like this, especially given that it's like a first time deal?
Okay, so I went on the Impact Plus app, and I also went on YouTube, and I looked up the King of the Mountain matches.
Ah,
So there were only a few like free online, and so I actually ended up messaging Impact, and they compiled a Dropbox and sent us all of them, so that we were able to watch them. There's 12 total, so we ended up, or I personally watched all 12 matches multiple times, just to see like how to format this kind of match. The rules are extremely, as you probably know, convoluted, and just how to make everything make sense for the fans, and tell a good story while we were doing the match. And so that's personally how I prepared for this match.
wow, that's really cool. So, so talk about the match a little bit. Like, as far as you getting together with the other women, all tremendous talents, kind of like a who's who of not just the women's division in Impact, but generally speaking, like just across the scene in the United States. Do you guys sit down and kind of say, all right, this is how we kind of want to map things out, or I want to get XYZ moving or spotting, or here's my ideas? Like, take me through that process a little bit. I'm really curious as to how that goes, given the match that you had, the Queen of the Mountain style. There's a lot of balls in the air, I would assume.
So actually, after the last set of tapings that we did, we finally knew who all was going to be in that actual match. So we, after the taping, started a group chat with all the girls that were going to be in the match, and we just, first thing we talked about was gear. Actually, like, what colors is everybody wearing? I know that's like not even like a big thing, but we wanted to make sure, everybody was looking different and representing themselves properly and not copying each other's gear too much. Like, everybody doesn't want to wear red and black in the match, right?
Sure, sure.
So we made sure that all of our gear looked different. And then, like, throughout the weeks, we would send each other spots like that or like, moments that we saw during these matches that we were watching, the King of the Mountain matches. We would send to the group chat and be like, okay, this would be cool if we did this, blah, 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 blah. Just literally for 6 weeks straight, this group chat was going back and forth. And then
Wow.
just before the pay-per-view, I think Saturday night, it was, Mia wasn't there and Chelsea wasn't there yet, but the rest of us got together at the hotel and we actually talked about the match for like 2.5 hours, just because, it's so complicated to put together and there's so much pressure on us as women and being like a first of anything to make this match incredible. And I also think we were going up, it was an uphill battle because people already don't like this kind of match. I mean, from what I was reading on when it was announced about how stupid the rules are and how there was a reason they haven't done it in so long. So we were really kind of trying to fight against that too and make sure everything made sense to the fans. But yeah, that's basically what we did to prepare.
Wow. So with a match like this, or like when you're having a regular wrestling match, I'm assuming obviously when there is live crowds, because for a while there wasn't there, but when there is, you're looking for some kind of cues from them to kind of gauge, all right, this is working, this isn't working. With a match like the Queen of the Mountain match, where you have so much going on and so much kind of planned, how do you have to pivot kind of like your mindset as far as like how you're interacting with the crowd, given that there's spots to remember, cues to hit, or is it pretty much par for the course, the same type of strategy that you use going in?
I would say it's a very similar strategy. There were a couple of things actually during the match that we didn't expect to happen or were a little off. And I still think, even though, the rules were on the board, it was confusing to because the Titantron didn't actually have the countdown on it of 2 minutes.
Mm.
So the fans didn't know, the live crowd didn't know when the next person was or how long the person had left in the elimination box.
Right.
So I think that was a big thing. I'm sorry, let me turn off my noise. There's that group chat is actually blowing up right now. Sorry. Everybody's talking about the weekend.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing was, I'm not 100% sure the rules of the match were read out loud to the live audience. So I think that probably confused them quite a bit. Like, I know on the pay-per-view, the timer was up there, and I believe the rules were displayed, but for the live audience, they didn't get that same experience. So I think that they were a little confused. So something like some of the pins that happened, I don't think the fans knew how to react completely.
Got it. Would you like to do something like this again? Something like that match again? Or is it kind of one and done?
Oh no, I honestly I love those kind of matches. I love those kind of stipulations. I think it's awesome. I know that it can be hard for fans to understand, but in wrestling, that's what we kind of do, right? We teach fans things. And I think that if we did more of them, and that if, we just tightened up a couple things so that the fans could understand the rules better, then it would be great. I think the Ultimate X was just a crazy concept to fans when it first started, and it's a staple of Impact now. So they call this the reverse ladder match, and I really think Impact's so good at creating these kind of matches. I would love to do it, on an annual basis.
Oh, interesting. So you're champion now. What is the second time that you've held the title? How does this time compare to the first time that you won it, if at all?
Well, the first time that I won it, it was a little anticlimactic. I was in Mexico, and I was wrestling Taya. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Taya is basically like a huge person in Mexico. So to win it from her was a little bit difficult because I was the good guy and she was the bad guy, and
Ah,
it's probably a little bit harder for them to cheer me in that, in that environment. Um, and it was also it was taped for TV, so I won it, but I couldn't post about it for
right.
2 3 weeks until that episode came out. So this was a completely different experience because it was live. I won it in front of you know the most amazing fans in the world, the Impact Wrestling fans, and I just think that it's just completely different for me. And also, when I won the title the first time, we almost immediately, I won in January, the end of January, we went into a pandemic at the beginning of March. So I don't think as a champion I got the full experience. Most of my title defenses were in front of no crowd at all. So it was hard for me. And I think this time around I'm more prepared, I'm more confident. Mentally, the pandemic was 10 years long. So I
Yes.
feel like I've really come into my own since that time, and I'm ready to represent the Knockouts division much better than I did before.
So I'm interested in that. So what is the responsibility like that you feel as champion? Because you're not like, you work for a lot of different promotions and you do a lot of things, but as Impact Knockouts champion, what kind of responsibility do you feel, if any, for the company, or like, getting the women's division more eyeballs on it? I mean, like, is there any kind of pressure in that regard?
Oh, there definitely is. I mean, essentially, I'm the face of the division at this point, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like the better matches that I put on, the more fans will take notice of not just the Knockouts division, but of Impact in general. So I feel a lot of pressure to put on, some incredible matches during my reign so that I can get more eyes on Impact, because I think it's an incredible show and an amazing company to work for, and I really, really wish that we could bring way more people into the building and have way more eyes on us in general.
Yeah. So with that said, you guys have a big weekend coming up. Not this weekend, but the following in Atlanta, against all odds, the Impact Plus special. How has that market treated you as a performer? Do you have a lot of experience working in Atlanta? Like, is it going to be kind of a home away from home, or is it your first time in the market?
To be completely honest with you, I believe I've only wrestled in Atlanta a handful of times, maybe three, and two of those were for Impact before the pandemic.
Okay.
So, um, I mean, I had just moved to Atlanta then, so I can't say that I had a lot of friends to come to the show or anything like that during that
Sure.
time. Um, but when I wrestled there a few months ago for GCW at the venue we're wrestling at this time, which is Center Stage, it was an amazing experience. Like, there's the venue that it is Center Stage. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's basically set up like a old school Spartan gladiator style Coliseum, where like there's just the big open area in the middle, and all around it are the bleachers, and they're just stacked on top of each other. So, and the ring is set up in the middle. And wrestling there, it immediately became like one of my favorite places to wrestle ever. And probably my number one place in the United States to wrestle in general. So I'm super excited to wrestle there. I really hope that we can just pack the place out.
Nice. Yeah. So July 1st and 2nd, you guys will be down there. And again, the Against All Odds Impact Plus special on July 1st. So as champion here, if you have a slate of opponents that you'd like to work with, if you could pick, two or three, who's high on your list that you want to wrestle as champion?
At Impact right now, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So Mia Yim is definitely one of the top people that I would love to wrestle right now. We actually wrestled only one other time 6 years ago, I believe, 6 or 7 years ago now, before she went to WWE. Before I even really knew who I was as a wrestler. So I think it's going to be a completely different vibe between us now, singles match, when we wrestle again. Obviously, I would love to wrestle Gianna again. She's my favorite person to wrestle at Impact ever. Me and her, we had my favorite match of my entire career together at Slammiversary 2 years ago, actually. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, and honestly, anybody who wants to challenge me for that title, I feel like I can put on a great match with on the roster right now. There's no one that I'm just like, oh, I don't want to wrestle them. I think they suck. Like there's no one on the roster.
And what about outside Impact? Like if you had a, you know, like a wild card pick, anybody you could bring in, like, is there a dream match out there that you're that you look at?
Oh, a dream match? That's a good question. I would love, honestly, to wrestle Jade Cargill. Uh, I think she's fucking awesome. She's strong. She's just powerful, and I think that a match between us would be incredible.
Yeah, it would be. It absolutely would be. What so last question is like, so you have so much going on with different promotions that you work for and Impact, and so I mean, how do you balance a schedule like that, like these days, especially with everything back from the pandemic, busier than ever as far as shows to work, I'm sure, but like, you know, what goes into just planning that out and mapping out your weeks and weekends, and I mean, how does that work with Impact kind of as your central hub?
So to be completely honest with you, I have not been taking independent dates at all. At the beginning of the year, I was focused entirely on powerlifting, and I was doing independence and impact, all that stuff together, and it just turned out to be too much for my body.
Okay.
I would wake up with back and neck pain every single day. I've been wrestling for 12 years, and the only time that's ever really been like a really big problem for me was during the beginning of the year when I was doing powerlifting and all these shows at the same time. So around March, that's when I decided to take some time off the independence because I don't think that I can go wrestle and then immediately start training for powerlifting like the next day. It's very hard on my body. So now I've just been focused entirely on Impact, and I've been really giving Impact Wrestling everything I have mentally and physically for the past few months.
Got it. How does like powerlifting fit into, or does it fit into wrestling in terms of like kind of giving, like clearing your mind? Is it a stress reliever? I mean, it's certainly more than just a hobby at this point, but what do you get from that you may not get from being in the wrestling ring?
So what's funny about powerlifting is you get a completely different high because in wrestling, obviously everything is scripted, right? So you know if you're going to win or you're going to lose. But in powerlifting, you control if you're going to win or going to lose. Like you can either lift a super heavy weight or you can't do it. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no politics in powerlifting. Like there's no one that's going to see me lift up 500 pounds and then be like, wow, she really sucks. Like it's not a thing. There's no opinions in powerlifting. Like it's not a thing at all. And being in powerlifting and winning competitions and basically doing it for myself and not having to worry about anybody else's opinion or what they think about, my style of powerlifting, which, really isn't a thing. It's made me so much more confident as an in-ring performer.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah. Well, Jordynne, thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out Against All Odds on July 1st from Atlanta, some TV tapings on July 2nd as well. Congrats on all of your success, and looking forward to seeing some of those matches coming up. And again, appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Of course.